Hello guys, welcome back to our new Clock 1 Rapid Revisions, and today we are gonna discussing about the pathophysiology. Okay, so pathophysiology will starting from the anemia. So what is anemia? So anemia, we know that is our mainly according to the value of MCV, mean corpuscle volume. It is of three types: hypochromic anemia, normocytic anemia, and hyperchromic anemia. So this is based on MCV. MCV, we have mean corpuscular volumes. MCV is equals to 80 to 100. It is the normal value for the MCV. And remember one more index, that is color index, that is normal value 0.9 to 0.1. Now let's discuss about hypochromic anemia. So what is hypochromic? So if we are in the question, we are given color index less than 0.9 or less than 80 MCV, mean corpuscular volume is less than 80, then it means we can have hypochromic anemia. We can have hypochromic anemia, or we can say it microcytic anemia. Microcytic anemia. Okay, what is the type for the hypochromic anemia? So remember the type: Sheetal. What do you need to remember? Sheetal. Sheetal, remember sideroblastic anemia, iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, anemia of the chronic disease, L for lead poisoning. Lead poisoning is a, like we can say it is a sideroblastic anemia, but we put it separately. So sideroblastic anemia, there is a decrease of vitamin B6. There is a decrease of vitamin B6. Okay, and remember the basophilic stippling seen in the sideroblastic anemia. So sideroblastic anemia, there is a decrease of vitamin B6, and we know that is decrease of vitamin B6, it leads to peripheral neuropathy. Yes, and that is the basophilic stippling seen in sideroblastic anemia. What about iron deficiency anemia? In iron deficiency anemia, we will see the nail brittleness and hair loss. We will see hair loss. And in iron deficiency, there is a deficiency of the iron, or we can say the deficiency of the transferrin also. So we call it iron deficiency anemia. So this is also example hypochromic anemia. Then thalassemia, anemia of the chronic disease, and the lead poisoning. Remember all the name for the hypochromic anemia. Anemia of the chronic disease, like examples, if you have something like kidney disease. So kidney disease is what? It is chronic. So if chronic, so that can lead to the anemia. That is the anemia of the chronic disease. Then we have second type, normocytic anemia. Normocytic anemia, remember we have MCV, normocytic anemia, MCV 80 to 100. And what is the color index for that? 0.92. Normal color index if you are given, then normocytic anemia. That name is suggesting normo means normal. It includes aplastic anemia, and we know that aplastic or hypoplastic anemia, it's caused by what? It's caused by aplastic anemia. It's caused by levomycin. And in this anemia, there is a bone marrow suppression will be seen. Bone marrow suppression. What is the other name for the levomycin? That is chloramphenicol. Levomycin or chloramphenicol. Okay. Now another is chronic renal failure, anemia of the chronic disease, and hemolytic anemia. They all comes under the normocytic anemia. What about the macrocytic? Macrocytic, remember LHMC. What you need to remember? LHMC. So what is LHMC? LHMC. So LHMC, what is that? Liver dysfunction, hypothyroidism. It also leads to macrocytic anemia. Megaloblastic anemia, this we already studied, that due to vitamin B12 and vitamin B9 deficiency. We know vitamin B9 deficiency, it's called neural tube defect. So it's called the neural tube defect. Okay, then we have the cytotoxic drugs that also cause the anemia. We know that must cause the vitamin B9 deficiency that leads to megaloblastic anemia. Okay, we studied already in our biochemistry rapid revisions. Then there is a poikilocytosis. So what is the poikilocytosis? Poi matlab P, remember the P, and here is also the P. So change in the shape of RBC. Shape of RBC means poikilocytosis, and if there is a change in the size of RBC, then we will call it anisocytosis. So remember the PPJA. So remember the P for poikilocytosis, P for shape, anisocytosis, Z. So here is what? Anisocytosis. So here is what? Z. And what is here? A. So remember PPJA. So similar two words there should be, that is P, and in another one there should be Z and A. Then who is the precursor of the RBC? Who is the precursor of RBC? Yes, you know this. That is reticulocyte, and it is what? It is non-nucleated. Okay, precursor of RBC, and that is reticulocyte. Now if you will see the peripheral smear finding, or we will see the blood smear, then what we will see in the microcytic anemia, we see the microcytic cell or hypochromic anemia. Okay, what we will see? Microcytic anemia and macrocytic anemia. We already studied about it, that in micro we see the micro cells, and macro we see the macro cells. Okay, then we have the spherocyte means they have no central pallor. So remember, this is the spherocytes. Then spherocyte, remember, it's seen in the hereditary spherocytosis. Spherocytes or no central pallor, it's seen in hereditary spherocytosis. We will discuss about it, what is hereditary spherocytosis. And it also seen in autoimmune hemolytic disease. So it also seen in which disease? Autoimmune hemolytic anemia. That is the most common cause of spherocytosis. And in the or we can say the autoimmune hemolytic anemia, hereditary spherocytosis, we will see spherocytes. Okay, then remember the polychromasia. So this is the characteristic features of what? Hemolytic anemia, polychromasia. So polychromasia is the characteristic feature of hemolytic anemia. Now remember the bite cell and the Henge bodies. Bite cell and the Henge bodies. Henge bodies, what? The precipitation of the hemoglobin. Bite cell is look like this, biting. So bite cell and the Henge bodies, they seen in glucose 6 phosphate deficiency anemia. Bite cell glucose 6 phosphate deficiency anemia. Okay guys. Then we have the cystocyte, helminth and fragmented RBC. Cystocyte, so remember the cystocyte or fragmented RBC we seen in microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. So if in the question given any these peripheral smear finding, and they will ask which anemia will be this, so we can easily identify it based on the peripheral smear. Remember the target cell and basophilic stippling, it's seen in thalassemia. Target cell and basophilic stippling is seen in thalassemia. And thalassemia is what? Thalassemia is autosomal recessive. Thalassemia is what? Autosomal recessive. So it is autosomal recessive disorder. Okay. Then it is microcytic hypochromic anemia. It is a microcytic hypochromic anemia. Yes. That is the microcytic hypochromic anemia or red cell we will see. Then remember the most common cause of death in case of thalassemia is iron overload due to repeated transfusion. So what is the most common cause of the death in the thalassemia is iron overload due to repeated transfusions. We have loads to discuss about the thalassemia. So remember target cell and basophilic stippling we seen in thalassemia, and it is autosomal recessive. So three things need to remember. We know already that is microcytic hypochromic anemia. Then remember it is autosomal recessive, and we see the target cell and basophilic stippling seen in the thalassemia. Okay. Then we studied about the hemolytic anemia. So hemolytic anemia, it can be hereditary, it can be acquired, it can be intraocular, it can be extraocular. Okay. Not ocular, corpuscular. Then remember that what we'll study here, hereditary hemolytic anemia. So in hereditary, so means there is a mutation. Okay, where will be the mutation? Mutation will find in the membrane of RBC. And here the membrane defect. So that's why here it will be membrane defect we will see. And remember the membrane defect, we see the hereditary spherocytosis. So what we will call it hereditary spherocytosis, or another name of that is our Minkowski-Shepard syndrome. What we will see in the peripheral smear or the blood smear, that we will see the spherocytes. Okay, now enzyme deficiency. Which enzyme deficiency that can lead to hereditary amylotic? So second is our enzyme due to enzyme deficiency, that is G6PD deficiency or hexokinase deficiency. Then third one is hemoglobinopathies, in it which like problem in the hemoglobin. So it include the sickle cell anemia and the thalassemia. So there is a three hereditary hemolytic anemia due to membrane defect, due to enzyme deficiency, and due to hemoglobin problem. Then what happened in the sickle cell anemia? There is glutamate replaced by the valine. We already studied about it. And remember, for the sickle cell anemia, there is extravascular hemolysis. There is what? Extravascular hemolysis and microvascular hemolysis seen. So remember extravascular hemolysis, because extravascular hemolysis means outside the RBC, so it will occur in the spleen. So extravascular hemolysis seen in the spleen, and microvascular hemolysis because it stick to the blood vessels, so it's seen in the sickle cell anemia. That's important and question from the ministry also. Then next we have hereditary spherocytosis. Let's discuss about the hereditary and G6PD. So hereditary spherocytosis, remember it is autosomal dominant. It is autosomal dominant. Autosomal dominant is what? Hereditary spherocytosis is autosomal dominant. Okay, sir. Then autosomal dominant due to membrane protein defect. Which membrane protein? Spectrin provide the shape of RBC, and chirin and the band cell. So remember hereditary spherocytosis, it's due to membrane protein of RBC, spectrin and chirin and the band cell. Remember the sub cafe or sub. Then spectrin and chirin and the band cells. So if there is a problem in the membrane protein, then what we will call it, that is membranopathy. And remember hereditary spherocytosis, we will see extravascular hemolysis. What we will see? Extravascular hemolysis we will see in hereditary spherocytosis. So it is due to mutation of the spectrin and chirin band cell. Yes, the most common about is spectrin chirin band cells. Hereditary spherocytosis, yes, it can be hereditary epilepticosis, but remember just only hereditary spherocytosis, it's autosomal due to membrane defects, RBC membrane defect, spectrin and chirin and the band cells. Okay, the next is our G6PD deficiency. G6PD deficiency, remember G6PD deficiency anemia, there is X-linked recessive. Okay, so we studied that sickle cell anemia or hereditary autosomal dominant, and G6PD deficiency anemia, it X-linked recessive. So what will happen, that glucose 6-phosphate is converted into 6-phosphogluconate. So this is our HMP shunt, HMP pathway. Okay, so HMP pathway, glucose 6-phosphate is converted into 6-phosphoglu with the help of G6PD, and here the H2O2 will become H2O. But if this will not occur, then there is accumulation of H2O2 free radical in the RBC, and due to stress of the free radicals, hemolysis will occur, and due to hemolysis there is a RBC distraction as well hemoglobin denaturation. So there the two things will occur. What two things? That is RBC distraction and hemoglobin denaturation. Okay, these two things will occur. So remember, if RBC distraction means inside the RBC, so it will be the intravascular hemolysis. And hemoglobin denaturation will occur, then it will lead to the deoxygenated precipitation of hemoglobin, means Hange body. So Hange body is seen in the G6PD deficiency hemolytic anemia. Yes. So if they will give you in the question about the hemolytic anemia, either hemolytic or G6PD deficiency, then it will be our answer. Then these hand bodies, they pass through the spleen, and the spleen they destroyed by the splenic macrophage. And at that time bite cell will be formed. Which cell will be the form? Bite cell. So remember, Hench bodies and bite cell. Hench body and bite cell will be seen in G6PD or hemolytic anemia. We can say it hemolytic because it is a type of hemolytic anemia. So here is extravascular hemolysis. Sir, अभी तो यहाँ पे बोल रहे थे हम intravascular, but now it is extravascular. So remember, in G6PD there is a both intravascular hemolysis as well as extravascular hemolysis seen. So in which anemia there is a both intravascular and extravascular hemolysis seen, that is G6PD deficiency. Okay. Then which the factors causing the hemolysis in the G6PD, or these things will be contra, or which drugs will be contraindicated in G6PD or hemolytic anemia. So remember, we have the chronic infections that can be leads to the G6PD. Drugs like anti-malarial drugs, primaquine, chloroquines and the fava beans. So these are contraindicated in case of G6PD deficiency, and chronic infection they also leads to the G6PD deficiency. Okay. Now remember one important point here, that G6PD, sickle cell anemia and the thalassemia, it protective against the plasmodium, means if these patient will be there, then they are resistant to malaria. That's we already know. Yes. Okay. Then there is our about autoimmune hemolytic. So we studied about the hereditary. So one important is over here, autoimmune hemolytic anemia. So it comes under type 2 hypersensitivity reaction. So now there is autoimmune. So autoimmune means there is an antibody interaction with the RBC membrane protein. So due to antibodies against the RBC membrane protein. So if you find something in the questions like which anemia due to antibodies, so it will be autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Then microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. Microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. MAHA. So remember it three types: hemolytic uremic syndrome, HUS, hemolytic uremic syndrome, HUS, thrombotic thrombocytopenia purpura, and disseminated intravascular coagulation. Okay. Then what we studied, that microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, we see the cystocyte helmet and the fragmented RBC we see in microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. Then we have paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, only acquired. So remember, if their question only acquired hemolytic anemia, why I put this? Because there is a question in which there is a more hemoglobin. So if in the question they will give you something more hemoglobin or hemoglobinuria, and there is a decreased RBC or pancytopenia, or then the question they are giving decreased erythrocytes and increase hemoglobin. So that is the case of acquired hemolytic anemia, and this is only like what is the example for that? Paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria. So remember, if you don't want to remember this point, so just remember these three words. So acquired, more hemoglobin, decreased erythrocyte, or pancytopenia. Okay, so this was about our anemia. Now let's go to, so this is the complete anemia. So one more is there, that is iron refractory anemia. So we will study it later. That is, now next is about leukemia. So from the leukemia, so let's study first about the hematopoiesis. Hematopoiesis, oasis, I already told oasis means there is a formation. So formation, and hemat means blood cell. So there is a formation of the blood cell. That is the formation of the blood cell. And what is the blood cell? We can say formed elements like RBC, WBC and the platelets. So remember, these are the hematopoiesis organs: yolk sac 3rd week, liver 3rd month, bone marrow in the liver 4th month, bone marrow just before the month. So just learn by heart all these organs. So these are the hematopoietic organs during our embryo stage. Then hematopoietic stem cell. What is the hematopoietic stem cell? Hematopoietic stem cell means they produce all the blood cells. Okay. Then remember hematopoietic stem cell, there is a two type, common myeloid progenitor and common lymphoid progenitor. मतलब it's like a generator. So generator, it will give the power, or hemato stem cell, it's generator, so it will gives the generator. So progenitor, so progenitor means it will give the what? Erythroblast, megakaryoblast, myeloblast, monoblast. It will give to the formation of blast formation. So progenitor will blast, so erythroblast, then megakaryoblast, myeloblast, monoblast. Then remember, erythro means erythrocyte, so RBC. Erythro mean erythrocyte, so RBC. Then megakaryoblast, megakaryocyte platelets. Myeloblast give neutrophil, eosinophil, basophils. So remember NIB, it neutrophil, eosinophil and basophil, and monoblast, it give rise to the monocytes. Remember, monocyte is the largest cell and have kidney shaped nucleus. They have the largest cell and the kidney shaped nucleus. Okay. Then remember the monocyte. So monocyte, largest cell and the kidney shaped nucleus, and these are agranulocytes. These are agranulocytes like lymphocytes. Okay, so monocytes and the lymphocyte, these are the they don't have any granules, that's why agranulocytes. Okay, neutrophils, remember this is the important points because they can ask in the question nuclei. So there is some controversy for the one question. There is someone is saying eosinophilia, someone is saying neutrophilia. Now you don't need to confuse, just remember this concept and what will be your answer according to that. Okay, so remember the neutrophils, there are 3 to 5 lobes of the nucleus. So if in the question you will given 3 to 5 lobes of the nucleus and the bluish granules in the cytoplasm, so what will be answer? Neutrophils. Eosinophils is what? Eosinophils, it is a binucleate. Eosinophils is binucleate, spectacle shaped nucleus. And remember which type, which red, E for erythro, yani ki red, erythema, red. So brick red granules in the cytoplasm, that is eosinophils. Okay. Then remember about the basophils. Basophils, remember the large bluish granules in the cytoplasm which obscure the nucleus, like which cover the nucleus. So large bluish granules in the cytoplasm which obscure the nucleus, that is our basophils. Okay. Okay. Then remember for the leukemia, we have the normal level. We need to remember these levels. So remember WBC normal level 3 to 9 into 10 की power 9 per liter, 4.3 to 5.9 into 5.9 into 10 की power 12 per liter. Or you can remember 4, you can remember it like that, 4 into 4 to 6. Okay, 4 to 6. So remember WBC normal level 3 to 9 into 10 or 4.5. What is the marker for the hematopoietic stem cell? What is the marker for the hematopoietic stem cell? That is CD34. So we know CD4 positive marker for HIV, CD8 positive marker for transplant rejection, CD34 positive marker for hematopoietic stem cell. Okay. Now let's go to the about the leukemia. Start from the now there is a what is the, so if the WBC, they are the normal, but they don't want to normal in the some person because of their, okay, leave it. There is a neoplastic lesions of the WBC. What is that? Neoplastic lesions of the WBC. Okay, neoplastic means like cancerous cells, neoplasm or abnormal cells. So neoplastic or proliferation of the cells, so neoplastic lesion of WBC, it can lead to the leukemia, it can lead to the lymphoma. So if leukemia can become the lymphoma and lymphoma can become the leukemia anytime. Okay. Okay. So what is the difference between the leukemia and the lymphoma? So there is a simple difference is that in the leukemia there is involvement of bone marrow. So there is a involvement of the bone marrow and the peripheral smear. So involvement, if there is involvement of the bone marrow and the peripheral smear, that simply means leukemia. And what is a lymphoma? There is a tissue involvement or more systemic tissue involvement, simply means lymphoma, like lymph node or the spleen involvement. So that is the case of lymphoma. I think this is the clear, the simple difference. Like if only the bone marrow or our peripheral smear means our blood in which there is a mature cell is present, so it will simply means leukemia. And lymphoma, like tissue involvement or any lymph node will be there or the spleen involvement will be there, then it will be lymphoma. Okay. Then there is a acute leukemia. So what is acute leukemia? So remember, for the acute leukemia, that is, so remember acute, when you will find the acute, so acute according to the WHO it is more than 20%, but according to the other organizers, that is more than 30% blast in the bone marrow or the peripheral smear. So you can remember acute means there is a more blast cell. So if there is a more blast cell, so it will be the acute leukemia. Now we have the two blasts. So it can be lymphoblast, it can be myeloblast. So lymphoblast and the myeloblast. Okay. Lymphoblast we know that is smaller in the size, and myeloblast, remember, these are the larger in the size. Now there is a no granules. So we know that because in the lymphoid leukemia, what happened in the lymphoid leukemia, there is a lymphocyte problem or lymphoblast problem, and in the myeloid leukemia or myelogenous leukemia, there is a problem in the myeloblast. So remember, these are smaller in the size, these are larger in the size. Myeloblast, remember, these are the have the granules present, they don't have granules. Now the most important feature is here about the myeloblast is that they have OR rods present. Which rods they have? OR rods present in myeloblast or hallmark of the myeloblast. Okay, and remember one other differentiating feature, that is course they have the clumped chromatin, who lymphoblast have the clumped chromatin, and they have open, like fully their open chromatin or homogeneous chromatin. Okay, now acute leukemia, it can be lymphoid leukemia and myeloid leukemia. So remember, the acute lymphoid leukemia is the most common cause cancer in the children. So if you don't know anything about in the leukemia, just go to check about what, about the age. So if you find the age 2 to 9 years, so means less than 10 years, then it will be acute lymphoid leukemia if you don't know anything. Okay, so this is the most common cause of cancer in the children. There is a decreased number of WBC, means increase infection, because there is a WBC lymphocytes will be decreased. Now there is a decreased platelet and hepatosplenomegaly, the stain, remember, TD positive stain, that marker for acute lymphoid leukemia. Okay. Okay, and we already studied about that, they don't have any OR rods, they don't have they have the coarse and clumped chromatin. Next is acute myeloid leukemia. So remember, for the acute myeloid leukemia, there is 15 to 45 years, the gum hyperplasia and the bleeding and DIC. So it's most common in 15 to 45 year, and remember they have the, like in gum hyperplasia, the bleeding and disseminated intravascular coagulation that leads to the acute myeloid leukemia. Okay, now remember, there is a chronic leukemia. So what is the chronic leukemia? What is chronic leukemia? So remember the chronic leukemia. So chronic leukemia, it simply means that we have neoplastic proliferation of mature. In acute we have the proliferation of the blast cell. In acute there is a blast, and in chronic there is a proliferation of the mature circulating lymphocytes and characterized by high WBC counts. Okay. So it is characterized by mature circulating lymphocytes, that is characterized by high WBC count. Then there is a chronic myeloid leukemia and a chronic lymphoid leukemia. So remember, firstly the pyoid, if you find in the question pyoid marrow, okay, that is chronic myelogenous leukemia. Chronic myelogenous leukemia. If you want to details about the pyoid marrow and this question, then just go to my Instagram highlights story highlighter. and you will find the croc one there, and you find this question. Okay. Then chronic myeloid leukemia, it mainly seen in the elder people. Here the massive hepatosplenomegaly will seen. Remember the change chromosomes or 22. So this is the it was before in the first year, Philadelphia chromosomes. What we called it? Philadelphia chromosomes. That is change of chromosome number 22. That is Philadelphia chromosomes. And there is an increased number of all myeloid lineage cells. So remember, in the myeloid leukemia, there is a myeloid lineage cells will be increased. Like there is an increased basophils and translocation of the 9th and 22. Okay. So remember these two things, decreased basophils and the translocation. So they are both absent in the reactive neutrophilic leukocytosis. Reactive neutrophilic leukocytosis, in which neutrophils will increase, and we already also known as leukemoid reaction. So these are both are absent in this increased basophils and translocation. So this is the differentiating feature between the chronic myeloid leukemia and reactive neutrophilic leukocytosis. Neutrophilic means there is a increase the neutrophils. Okay. Yes, you got it. You are the great persons and the great student. Then there is a chronic lymphoid leukemia. Lymphoid leukemia means there is a, which cell will be there? Here mainly the proliferation of the mature B cell. So if there is a proliferation of the mature B cell, what we will call it? Neoplastic proliferation of the mature B cells. In the blood smear we see increased lymphocyte, the smudge and the Botkin cells. So underline this one, smudge and the Botkin cell. So this is the easiest to assess the chronic. So if in the question you find smudge and the Botkin cell, then simply go to the chronic lymphoid leukemia. There is no treatment required for this, because go and die condition, because it mainly affect more than 60 years people. Okay. Then there is a involvement of the lymph nodes. In chronic lymphoid leukemia, involvement of lymph node means generalized lymphadenopathy, or we can call that leads to the small lymphocytic leukemia. So remember, for the chronic lymphoid leukemia, neoplastic proliferation of mature B cells, smudge cell and the Botkin cells you see in the question for the chronic lymphoid leukemia. And there is involvement of the lymph nodes that leads to generalized lymphadenopathy. Okay. So this was in the detail, like what is the lymphoid leukemia acute. So let's discuss it for quick revision for that. So remember, or the acute or the chronic. So this is the like some tricks. So if in the question you given blast is more than 20% or blast is more than 30%, so that is acute. And the WBC, remember, normal, like more than 50 into 10 ki power. So here also WBC is more than 50 into. So here is the proliferation. In acute there is a proliferation of the lymphoblast and myeloblast. There is a proliferation of lymphoblast and the myeloblast. So if myeloblast proliferation, acute myeloid; lymphoblast proliferation, acute lymphoid; chronic proliferation of the mature cells. So proliferation of the mature cell, that is the chronic. Khatam. Finish. Tata. Bye bye. See you. Not see you. Okay. So I have the two questions here about that. So remember, A39 underweight hemorrhagic stenosis color index. So here the color index is given. Okay, but don't go for that. Reticulocyte, platelets and WBC. So here see, you can see the WBC 60 into 10 means more than 50. Okay. Basophils to eosinophils to, and if you see the promyelocytes will be 5. So which will be there? Here the no blast cell. So no blast cell means it will be the chronic. And here the promyelocytes. So promyelocytes, we are not seeing any lymphoid cells. So which cell will be there? What will be our answer? That will be chronic myeloid leukemia. Okay. So in the question what given? WBC more than 50 and the promyelocytes. So no lymph cells or no lymphocytes. Okay, no lymphoid lineage cells or no B mature cells. So remember, chronic myeloid leukemia. In the next question we are seeing So postmortem study revealed the following: in large various group of the lymph nodes and that is hypercellular bone marrow with monomorphic infiltration composed of the blast. So I got the answer. So remember, the hypercellular bone marrow with monomorphic infiltration composed of the blast and diffuse focal tumor infiltration. So remember the blast what we have, maybe lymphoblastic or myeloblastic. And also remember, there is a like tumor infiltration, the liver, spleen and the lymph nodes. So we know that in the acute lymphoid leukemia, what we studied in the acute lymphoid leukemia, that there is a lymph node something and there is a hepatosplenomegaly. Okay, so remember the lymph node, that is for lymphoblastic, so it will be acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Or we can see there is enlarged various groups of the lymph nodes. So what will be, or we can say here the hepatosplenomegaly. So these all are the characteristic feature for the lymphoblastic leukemia. Okay, and one more leukemia is there, that is undifferentiated leukemia. So this is the most simplest question. So if in the question you are given normal WBC level, blast cell more than 50%, then it means the undifferentiated leukemia. The next is about the lymphoma. So remember, for the lymphoma we have the two types. We have the loads of type, but we are discussing just two here because that's important for us. So Hodgkin lymphoma and the non-Hodgkin lymphoma. What is the difference between leukemia and lymphoma? Yes, there is a lymphoma, there is a neoplastic or proliferation of spleen or involvement of the spleen or systemic tissue. Okay, systemic involvement. Hodgkin lymphoma and non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So remember, the Hodgkin, it affects the both 15 to 20 years as well as elderly people, hence bimodal age distribution. And non-Hodgkin can occur at any age. There will be the cervical lymphadenopathy and there is a generalized lymphadenopathy seen in non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Here the contagious spread and here the non-contagious spread. Remember the unique feature for the Hodgkin lymphoma, or the differentiating feature, that is main differentiating feature we can say, that is, yes, Reed-Suttenberg cell. Okay, and Hodgkin lymphoma sometimes also known as lymphogranulomatosis. So what is the lymphogranulomatosis? So in the lymphogranulomatosis, one of the lymphadenopathy disease should be there, Reed-Suttenberg cell should be there, necrosis in the immune organs and porphyritic spleen. So remember the four things for the lymphogranulomatosis or the Hodgkin lymphoma, that one of the lymphadenopathy. So here is the cervical lymphadenopathy, Reed-Suttenberg cell should be there, necrosis in the immune organs and porphyritic spleen. So answer will, what will be our answer? That is lymphogranulomatosis. So in this question we can see there is enlarged submandibular and cervical lymph node. Can you see, or only I can see? I hope you also can see enlarged and cervical lymph nodes. The boy was subjected to biopsy. And microscopic examination lymph node revealed typical structure of blood cell population is heterogeneous. There are big cell with multi-lobe nuclei, multiple big monos, eosinophilic and neutrophilic leukocytosis. So we can see here that is enlarged examination lymph nodes. So simply it goes to the enlarged submandibular and cervical lymph node, and we can see here also here the necrotic areas on the foci of the sclerosis. So we can say the complication for the Hodgkin lymphomas, but the sclerosis. So if in the question they are given sclerosis, so that is also the case for lymphogranulomatosis or the Hodgkin lymphoma. Okay, then next in the option there is a lymphoid leukosis. What is the lymphoid leukosis? So remember, if you have enlarged cervical lymph node and there is absence of the lymphoid follicle should be there. If there is no lymphoid follicle in the question, so remember the enlarged cervical lymph node and lymphoid follicles, enlarged cervical lymph node and lymphoid follicle will be absent. So that is the case of lymphoid leukosis. Okay. Okay, so this was about the leukemia and the lymphoma. Then next talk about the cardiovascular disease. So what are the cardiovascular disease? Cardiovascular disease मतलब कि lungs में problem नहीं, heart में problem. So there is a problem in the heart. Okay, and blood vessels. Okay, then what is the histopathology of the heart wall? So remember the fibrosa, spongiosa, ventricularis. So if there is a deposition of dense collagenous tissue will be there, what we will call it fibrosa. If there is a loose connective tissue will be there, what we will call it spongiosa. If there is elastin connective tissue deposition, that will call it ventricularis. So there is histopathology, we will see fibrosa, spongiosa and the ventricularis. We know the layer of the heart, right? Three layer, that is endo, yes, myo, yes, pericardium. Endo, myo and pericardium. Very great. So proud of you. Okay, the next is about the heart failure. So heart failure, remember, so what first cardiovascular disease what we have? Heart failure. Dil toota. Okay, so heart failure or heart fail ho gaya. So that is left sided heart failure and right sided heart failure. So what is the cause of the left sided heart failure? Yeah, that is hypertension, ischemic heart disease and atherosclerosis. So these all are the cause of left sided heart failure. Yes, hypertension, ischemic heart disease and atherosclerosis, these all are the cause of the left sided heart failure. Can you tell me the cause of right sided? लेफ्ट ने ही धोखा दिया. किसने? लेफ्ट ने ही धोखा दिया राइट को. सो इट विल बी द what who is the cause for the right sided heart failure? That is left sided heart failure. तो लेफ्ट ने ही धोखा दिया किसको? राइट को. So that will be the our left sided heart failure. Okay guys, okay. Then remember the next one, heart. So heart due to, so what the problem in the heart due to left ventricle failure? So that will be the left ventricular hypertrophy. Due to left sided heart failure, it will not pump the blood. So blood will accumulate in the left ventricle and will lead to the hypertrophy. Hypertrophy, it was increase in the size or increase in number? Yes, it is increase in the shape or size. Okay, so hypertrophy, there is a no S. So remember, there is no S means there is an increase in number. Hypertrophy. So the left ventricular hypertrophy. Left ventricular hypertrophy. Okay. Now remember the pulmonary edema. So there is a pulmonary edema. Due to left ventricle hypertrophy, all blood will accumulate in the pulmonary veins, and due to pulmonary vein accumulation, all the blood will accumulate in the lungs and pulmonary veins to the lungs. So that will lead to the pulmonary edema and the lung edema. So what is the cause for the lung edema? That is left sided heart failure is the cause of the what? Yes, lung edema. Then in the lungs we see the heart failure cells. Heart failure cell we see in the lung, that is hemosiderin laden macrophage. But we will see hemosiderin laden macrophage. Then there is a myocardial. Okay, in right sided heart failure, remember congestive hepatomegaly, or we see the nutmeg liver. So what we will see? Congestive hepatomegaly and the nutmeg liver seen in the right sided heart failure. Yes. The next we have myocardial infarction. So myocardial infarction, remember, these are the localized area of the coagulative necrosis in the heart. There will be the localized area of which necrosis? Coagulative necrosis in the heart, wedge shaped and wide infarction. Which pain we will see in myocardial infarction? Irradiating reflected pain we will see in myocardial infarction. So which pain we will see in the myocardial infarction? That is irradiating and radiated pain we will see, or reflected pain we will see in myocardial infarction. What is the cause of myocardial infarction? That is atherosclerosis. What is the cause of myocardial? That is atherosclerosis, like due to localized area of coagulative necrosis or deposition of cholesterol or plaque formation. Now remember the myocardial infarction. So it can be subendocardial, it can be transmural. So sub means there is a sub. So below the endocardial means involves the subendocardial zone. So involves the means endocardium will not affected, or below the endocardium all the layer will be, above the endocardium all layer will be affected. That is subendocardial. Subendocardial involve the subendocardial zone, and there is a no elevation of ST segment. What is ST segment here? ST segment. ST segment is what? This is our seen in ECG. So about the ECG, if we talk, there is no elevation of the ST segment. And transmural infarction, there is involvement all layers of the heart. So if there is involvement of all layers of the heart, then means there is a ST segment elevation, and it's seen in Prinzmetal angina. Prinzmetal angina, in which there is a vasospasm of the coronary vessels. And sub endocardial, it's seen in stable and unstable angina. Stable and unstable angina. Angina is what? Angina is the chest pain. Chest pain, not chest pain. Then ECG, we see what the ECG finding for myocardial infarction. Remember, ST segment elevation, T wave inversion, and pathological Q wave. So if in the question or they ask you about the ECG, so remember for the myocardial infarction, three things, that is ST segment elevation, ST segment elevation, and T wave inversion, and the pathological Q waves. T wave, ST segment inversions, T wave ST segment elevation, T wave inversion, and pathological Q wave. Okay. The next cardiovascular disease we have, that is cardiomyopathy. What we have? Cardiomyopathy. So remember, we can have the dilated cardiomyopathy, we can have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, we can have the restrictive cardiomyopathy. So there is a three. So remember, in the dilated, there is a systole. Most common is the systolic dysfunction will be there. What we will see? They will say systolic dysfunction. Systolic dysfunction means, systole means there is a contraction of the ventricles and the atrium, that is the systole. And in the hypertrophic and the restrictive cardiomyopathy, we will see diastolic dysfunction. What we will see? Diastolic. Diastolic means relaxation of the ventricles or the atria. So there is a diastolic dysfunction, means hypertrophic, or we know HR. So hypertrophic diastolic dysfunction, HR. Remember HR. Okay. So who is the HR for this company? Okay. So hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, restrictive cardiomyopathy, and dilated cardiomyopathy. Remember the systolic dysfunction. Systolic dysfunction. Then there is one question about their fibrinolysis. So fibrinolysis we already studied in the coagulation cascade pathway. So this is the case of which stage will be there for the clotting or cascade pathway. So it is the stage of third stage for the clotting or the cascade pathway. Okay. Now talk about the burns. Burns. Okay. Burns, we have the two types, primary alternation and the secondary alternation. So remember, primary alternation, there is a healing without a scar. So primary alternation, there will be the healing without a scar. Primary alternation, there will be the healing without scar. So there is a no formation of the scar we seen in the primary alternation, but in the secondary alternation we see the formation of the scar. And remember, we will see the edema here, and in the secondary alternation we see the necrosis. So if in the question you will given that there is a necrosis, and this person having the burn, having the necrosis, healing with this, and there is a formation of the scar, and there is a deposition of the collagen in that. So what will be your answer? That is secondary alternation of the secondary burn alternation. And in the burns or primary alternation, there is a no scar formation, and edema will be there due to increased vascular permeability. Okay. Next is about hypovolemia. So hypovolemia, remember, there is a gross blood loss. So hypovolemia, there is a gross blood loss, and there is a decreased blood loss. Hypovolemia means there is a gross blood loss or decreased blood loss. Okay. Then we have the blood sludge phenomena. That is changing the charge of blood vessels, means negative to positive due to cholesterol deposition. So what is the blood sludge phenomena? That is the changing of the charge of the blood vessels from negative to the positive. So normally the blood vessels, these are negative charge, and they change to the positive. And why that will happen? Due to cholesterol deposition. And what we will call it? That is atherosclerosis. What is the cholesterol deposition? Atherosclerosis. Okay. So okay, so this is about the part 1, and next part we will study about atrioventricular blocks and some other important points. So please do like, share and subscribe, and please watch the next part also. We will discuss it soon.